It really tells us that we live in a city where people who are vulnerable are continually left behind.
The demand for shelter in Toronto is the highest it's ever been. That's according to the city, who's issued an extreme weather alert. And on this cold and bitter Tuesday, advocates are asking city officials to call in extra resources for relief, including federal assistance.
The status quo wasn't working. And so I think even now more so, there are just no shelter beds available for people who want to get inside.
Lorraine Lamb shared this audio, an unanswered phone call with a city service that provides people with shelter beds.
We are currently experiencing higher than usual call volumes. Please call back at a later time to speak with an agent.
The outreach worker says for 24 hours, colleagues had a 0% success rate in helping people get beds through the city.
Yesterday, they were so overwhelmed with calls that they didn't even have the capacity to pick up the phone. And that's not their fault. Like, I think they're just under-resourced as well, and the demand is really high. So it really does point to some real systemic gaps here.
Earlier today, protesters took to the streets.
What do we want?
More beds!
When do we want them?
Now!
Marching by Old City Hall. A CityNews cameras captured people sleeping outside on sidewalks and in tents on this frigid Tuesday. Lamb, who has called on the city to add more beds and warming centers, says at the rate things are going, we need to be prepared for increased encampments.
Encampments are a visible symptom of a real deeper problem, right? Like, if people have nowhere to go, they're going to do what they need to do to survive. What we're seeing right now is that we are not prepared. We desperately need federal relief. We need some actual solutions to happen.
A spokesperson from the city says the shelter system is large, complex, and dynamic, so clients should call back, adding there are currently 101 shelter and respite sites, and quote, the city has added more than 325 new spaces to the shelter system to provide additional space for people to come indoors. The city also activates approximately 165 spaces at 4 warming centers when an extreme cold weather alert is called, along with additional street outreach. They add that the city continues to experience significant demand for emergency shelter, and they're working with partners to create more spaces, including with Homes First opening a shelter on December 30th in Scarborough that offers 51 spaces.
The demand in the city right now is so high that the minute we open a bed, it's basically filled.
Homes First runs 7 shelters in the GTA, operating at lower capacity to allow for physical distancing during the pandemic, another challenge for shelters.
The congregate settings is harder to manage. We've had outbreaks in the past where we then have to lean on the city, who have got isolation hotels. So we have to send the clients to the isolation spaces. And yeah, it takes a lot of coordination. But again, we're all client focused. We're all working towards the same cause.
And in addition to short-term needs, advocates like Lorraine have also been calling for long-term solutions, including accessible and affordable housing. In Toronto, I'm Faiza Amin for City News.